like to run over the interface of the new Pixlr E. Now, something about Pixlr I've noticed over the last couple of years is they keep changing their interface. Every time I turn around, they have a different interface. Kind of messes me up on the video situation because when you look at my videos that are not very old, the interface looks different. So let's go ahead and go over the new interface and see what it looks like. Let's get started. We are going to start with Pixlr E. So let's click the one on the right here. We've got a few things here. You'll notice I've done a few images and I've got those in my memory. And the same old thing before, we can create we can open an image, create a new, or we can load the URL. This is something new. I don't think they had this before, where you can do a batch edit. So let's assume you have 50 or so images and you want to make them all the same size, or you want to do something in particular to those. You can make a batch script, I'm assuming, and you can do them really quickly. So let's go ahead and start create new. And it looks like the presets are a little bit different. You've got some recommended, photo, social, web, print, video, and then you know that you can always make your own size right here. In class, we made a bookmark, so I thought I would kind of go through that a little bit and see if I can make something similar. So let's get started. So let's call this bookmark. And I want to make it about 2 inches wide. That would be about 192 pixels. And let's make it a little over 6 inches. So let's go 600 pixels. And create. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I've got my interface here. I've got a few things over to the right here. I have my panels. I'm used to calling them palettes. I think they called them palettes in Photoshop. I have my tools over here. And then up here, usually what occurs is a ribbon will show up right here. And I will show you that in a few minutes. Now, if you want to navigate, you can use the navigation tool right here. But to navigate, we're going to need a picture. So I'm going to get a picture of a dog. So let's do that real quick. And we'll go to images. And I want to find me a nice, cute dog. They got some really cute ones here. I do like a cute dog. Okay, how about this one right here? And I'm just going to copy that. And I'll just copy the image and go back to Pixlr. And I'm going to paste it. I'll just go the keyboard command of, for me, it is Command V. But if you're on a PC or a Chromebook, it's going to be Control V. I'll make this a little bit bigger, or a little bit smaller, I'm sorry. Whoops. Look how I skewed it there, because I hold the shift down. That is a habit that I learned from the old Photoshop. Hold the shift down to keep it proportional. It's not true anymore. Okay. So I've got a dog here. And I'm going to make this bigger. Now there's a couple ways that I can zoom in and zoom out. One way is I can hold the Control or Command, depending if you're on a Mac or not, and I hit the plus or minus. I'm used to doing that. Or you can use this navigate to zoom up and zoom down. That works too. If you make it really big and you want to move about your image, what I like to do is what I did in Photoshop, hold the space bar down and then click, and then I can move around. And I'm moving around. I'm not moving the image, I'm moving around. Or there's this little red box here in the navigate. You can move this around also. Of course, you could always do the sliders. I don't usually like to do those, but if you want to, go for it. Okay, so you can move up and down that way. If you're really zooming in and doing something, you can move around it just like that. Okay, so that's what the navigate is for. You're moving around the images here. And again, I like to do it the old school Photoshop way, but you can do whatever you want. We have the layers palette. Now you may notice that this is a little bit different here. We used to have these 3 dots next to each layer. And to get the properties of that layer, you could click on the 3 dots. Now you have to select the layer, click the 3 dots, then you can change the name, you can change the blend mode, which I tell my students don't mess with for now. You can change the opacity, which we will do quite a bit. You can lock it or you can hide it, or you can merge it down. Merging down would be to merge two layers together into one layer. And you put it right above the one you want to merge onto. Or you can flatten. Okay, and then this one is merge visible. Let's say you have some and you have some of them hidden, but the visible ones you want to merge together. That's one way you could do it. Okay, so if I don't want to see that, I can just close it. And the other layer is just the background layer with nothing on it. So it's right there. Now, also you can use the little eye. If you click on this eye, you can make it visible or invisible. Makes it a little bit faster. Also on the layers palette, you have add a layer, and look what layers you can add. You can add text, shape, frame, image, and empty. Okay. If you want to duplicate a layer, you click this, and then if you want to delete a layer, right there. Okay, the history. The history is kind of your undo. So you could do lots of undos, and I think you could do about 20 of these. So I can move up and down my tasks. Everything that I've done, I can move up and down those. So if I want to go back to a certain area, I can. So it's like undo, redo, basically, and you can just step through your history right here. It's really kind of nice to have. Now, over my tools, I don't use all these tools, but I want to kind of go through them really quickly. The first one is the arrange. If I want to move something, I can move it with the arrange tool. Okay, this is the marquee select. If I wanted to select a portion of it, and I can do something with a selection, I might change the color or the contrast. I might make a copy of it, copy and paste it. I could do that with the selection tool. The lasso tool, I always call it just the lasso. It's called lasso select, but you can call it whatever you want. And you can pretty much select an area as more like a freeform area instead of like a square or a circle or something like that. Here is your wand select, which I call the magic wand. And that's if you want to select an area really easily. I'll show you real quick. I can select this background, and the dog obviously is not selected, but the background selected. If I want to delete that, I can hit delete and delete it. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back in my history and change it back. Okay, to deselect that, I just go Command D or Control D. So magic wand, here's your cropping tool. Everyone knows how to use that. This is your cut out mask tool. I have not used that on this program, so I'm not sure of all the ins and outs of that. Liquify, this is just a filter of sorts. Notice this, when I click on each of these tools, a ribbon at the top shows up. And these are just properties, things I can change when I select a tool. Again, I haven't used this tool. It seems just like a filter to me, and I'm not interested in that. The heal tool would be like to take something out of an object or a picture. I do use the clone tool quite a bit, and we will use this in some of my assignments. The blur, sharpen, smudge tool sometimes will come in handy, especially if you want to bring, kind of get rid of something, take the emphasis off of something. The focus, I have not used this, but it kind of reminds me of the iPhone, the portrait mode, where it will blur the background and it will sharpen whatever's in the foreground, and it's kind of interesting. Disperse, I have not used this one. Again, it seems like more like a filter to me. I'm not really interested in that. Dodge and burn, darken areas, lighten areas, always a good thing. Your sponge color, I've fooled around with this, but I haven't used it like in a serious project yet, so I don't know a ton about it. Then, of course, you got your pen and your draw and your eraser. Of course, I use the eraser quite a bit. Your color replace, I haven't used a color replace. I may have used it once, but I haven't used it very much. Of course, your paint bucket, which is called the fill. Your gradient, I like to use a gradient. The frame or image holder, I have not used this, but I think I'm going to have a project where I do this. This could be interesting. I want to try this out. The shapes I use all the time. And in the shapes, I like to, when I want to do a line, I like to use this line right here in the shape tool. And you would think I would use the line from the pen or the draw. But when I want to do a straight line, I like this one because I can draw like this. I can change the size of the line, which is really nice. You know, I can make it bigger or smaller. And so this is kind of nice. I like to use this line tool when I'm using a line. And I just need a simple line. So that's quite good. Our text here. And then we have the eyedropper, which I use a lot. Called the picker here, but I use that quite a bit to match colors. To zoom around, I don't know that you really need this. I think it's probably better to use the navigation over here, but you could try it and see how you like it. This one here, the hand and pan tool, I do use that, but remember I use that with the space bar and clicking to move around. I don't use this actual tool. And then your colors right here, your color switcher here. So those are the tools that we have, but I want to point out some aspects of each of the tools. I showed you before on the shape tool that when I click on the shape tool, I've got some various shapes that I can draw. I can draw a rectangle, and then I can fill the rectangle with a color. I can do a gradient, which is kind of nice. And I can even edit these colors in the gradient. I can change this color to something else. And I can change how fast it blends, you know, from one color to the other. I can do that. I can change the opacity, which is really nice because I will do this quite a bit. I'll use opacity a lot. I also have this pattern area where you could put a pattern in there. And I haven't really used this yet, but maybe I will eventually. I mostly use color or gradient. You can also indicate the color here. You can type in the color code to get the right color that you want, and it's kind of nice. Okay, so I have some various tools here. If you want to do a rectangle with a curved edge here, you can do that. And it's pretty easy. You just change the radius right here to get the size of curve that you want. I also have some styles here. I can outline it with a color. Maybe I want black for the outline. And I can change the outline size. Whoops. Let's move that out of the way so you can see it. Okay, I can do a drop shadow, and I've got some various controls here. Change the opacity. I want to make it more opaque or less opaque, the direction, the distance, and how much it blurs. So if I want it really sharp, maybe I want it like that, and distance close. And I could do it like that, or I could blur it some. So I've got some controls in here for each of these tools. Often you will see that in the text. So if I'm doing something with text, I click on the text tool, and it asks me, do you want to add a new text layer? Yes, I do want to do that. You'll notice also over here that I have new layers for each shape I made. I have a layer for each of those. Now, I can also add a text layer by adding right over here in the Tools palette. I can just go to a text layer and do it that way. That's what I usually do. But you can do it this way too, by going to the text tool. And I can do a lot with the text. Okay, let's go ahead and change the color of the text. Now, there's a couple things I want you to kind of remember. When we click on the text, you see we get this ribbon at the top, and these are all the attributes for the text. You can see here I can change the font. I can change the color. And if I want to select a color from something else, I can use the eyedropper here and select a color to change the color. I use that quite a bit. It really is kind of nice. I can make the text a gradient. And again, I can manipulate this however you want to do it. I can change the size right here. I can also change the size on the text. Whoops, I'm not sure what I did there, but I will use my history to go back. So here I'm going to use the move tool, and I can actually grab the bottom and make the text bigger and smaller. I like that better, but you could do it the way you want. So I can do that. But if I click on the text, and you notice I clicked on the text, but look, my ribbon didn't appear here. And that kind of stumped me for a while until I clicked on the text tool again. Then the ribbon appears. So if that happens to you, just click on the text tool and then you'll get your attributes back. Now I can do some other things here. If I would like to increase the line spacing, I only have one line, so that doesn't help. Or the letter spacing, I want to make it further apart or closer together. I can do that. Obviously, I can align it different ways. I can make it bold if I want to. Oh, that doesn't look good, does it? So no bold on this one. Doesn't look good. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I also have the styles. I can do a curve if I want to do like an arc. And I can arc it either way, a circle or a half circle. And then I can adjust the settings here. I can flip it inward or outward, and the spread, how close it is right there. But I don't really want to do a curve. The background, you can add a background color, or you can punch it out, which we do in one of my classes and one of my assignments, but we do it a little bit differently, and so you can see right through it. You're punching it out. Or you can change the background color here. I don't usually do that, but you can if you'd like. Outline comes in handy. You can change the size of the outline, make it bigger or smaller. I like to do a drop shadow. I'm a fan of the drop shadow for text. And you can change, again, the blur. You can change the distance, just like you would another object. The same thing. The opacity. And so you've got some settings there. The color, I like a black drop shadow, but to each his own. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So I can do quite a few things with this text. Remember, I've got this blown up pretty big. That's why it looks a little bit rough. And also, this is not a vector program. You know the difference between something that has pixels and vector. Vector means that no matter how big you make it, it's a mathematical formula and the quality is the same, even if you make it huge. If you make something that has pixels really big, well, look what happens. You see the pixels, okay? And that wouldn't happen with a vector image. But I always tell my students to find photographs that are high quality, high res images, and you generally don't have that problem. But I'm kind of really zoomed in right now, and that's why you see that it looks pixelized, because the actual size is much smaller. Okay, so I can do some things with text. Now remember, I still can do work with line, and I can do it a couple different ways by grabbing the shape tool and using the line. I want to go over a few more things with the layers, and most students know this, but just in case you don't know it, it's important that you do. Remember that you can move these layers up and down. If you want the dog on top of the text, there it is. You want the shape on top, and you move these around. I often tell students, if you have a layer that is done and you don't want it to change it by accident, probably a good thing to do is lock it so that you cannot change that layer anymore. You can still move it, but you can't alter this layer without unlocking it. And that's the good thing about that lock. To unlock it is really easy. To lock it, you have to go to the three dots, but to unlock it, all you have to do is click on the lock here to unlock it. It's kind of nice to have that. Toggle home here. You'll notice I have several things in here. And these things right here are in the cache memory, meaning it's a little bit of memory that's on the computer. That can be cleared, and it can be cleared a couple different ways. You can physically clear it, but sometimes if your computer dies, it might lose that memory. I don't know if your computer is a laptop and you run out of battery, whether the cache is cleared or not. It might be. So these are just temporary things. If I want to keep these forever, I've got to save them properly. So let me click back on this, and I'll show you how to do that. I want to go to Save, And you've got 4 options: JPEG with a white background, and you can choose the quality; PNG with a transparent background. You have this WebP, which I don't use, and I haven't. I don't know why I would want to use this one. I know why I want to use PNG if I want the transparent background. JPEG, it compresses really well, so I don't know what the deal with this is. Again, someone might know out there, and the students will usually tell me. But this is the file if you want to preserve it and you want to save the layers so that you can go back and edit the layers later. This is the file format you have to save it in. So if I save this as a PXZ, that would be a Pixlr file. I can save it on my computer. I can go and on my computer when I want to edit this, and I can edit this from the cache. But if these are gone, that means the cache has been cleared. If I want to open that file, that PXZ file, I can just go to Open Image. I can find the file, and it's right here, the PXZ file, and open that up. And I can open the backup copy that I have on my computer. Now, I don't have to do this. If I have this, let me close it. Now, if I have this in my cache, I can just open it here and then back it up to my computer when I'm done. So if I open this up and none of these are here, then I got a problem. I can go back to my original backup and work on that. Well, that's all I have for Pixlr. They'll probably change it like in 6 months on me again, but we'll deal with it, won't we? Okay, well, that's it for today. You guys go ahead and get some projects done. We'll see you next time.